What level is your English language? It's a question that's really important to know, both for learners who want to know what level they're at, and for teachers so that you know what level to teach them at. But it can be quite confusing. If you want to know more about how you can assess learners' levels and what the different exam levels are and how they correspond, keep watching. I'm Jo Gakonga from IELTStraining.com. I've been teaching for over 30 years and training teachers on courses like CELTA and MAT-SOL for over 20. I've got a website at IELTStraining.com where I offer useful material for teachers at all stages of their career. So let's talk about language levels. There are a couple of problems here. The first one is that people often have what's called a spiky profile. Sounds nice, doesn't it? This means that their level in speaking or listening might be significantly higher or lower than their level in reading and writing. The other difficulty is that there are a whole plethora of different scales used to measure level, and as a novice teacher you might not know what these mean. So if this is you and you're wondering what these levels mean, stick with me and I'll try to explain. You've probably heard of some of these terms: elementary, B2, Cambridge First, IELTS Band 5, and you might be wondering how these relate to your learners and also how they relate to each other. So let's start with the basic level of description, the one that seems the most obvious, the least opaque. This starts with learners at beginner level, and this is exactly what it says on the tin, although learners will often be false beginners, people who've learnt English before, maybe a long time ago, and don't feel as if they remember anything, although it'll probably all come back. Then the scale moves up to elementary, pre-intermediate, intermediate, upper intermediate, and advanced. And by advanced level, learners should be proficient in the language and won't need so much help from you anymore. Although there's always that vocabulary mountain always to climb. The problem with these levels is that there are no particular set descriptions about what learners can and can't do at these levels. So how do you actually know if you're intermediate? Welcome to the CEFR, the Common European Framework of Reference. These levels address exactly this issue. So it was devised by the Council of Europe, and you can find more about it at the link just below if you're interested. There are 6 levels and they broadly map onto the levels that we've just already seen. There are can-do descriptions for each of the levels that state what learners are able to perform in the language at any of those particular levels. And again, you can see these statements and you can download a searchable Excel file for all of them at the link below. So that's quite helpful. It's a lot more objective. You'll usually see that course books these days are labelled with these levels, B2, C1, as well as or instead of the more traditional elementary, pre-intermediate type labels. So those are helpful to know. But as well as those levels, we have exams which map onto them. So let's start by looking at Cambridge, because it's a very common exam board for people to follow when they're doing general English. The most popular and widely taken Cambridge exam is the Cambridge B2 First. This used to be called Cambridge First, and before that it was called FCE when I first started teaching it, First Certificate in English. And this maps, obviously now it's called B2, onto the upper intermediate level of English, or B2. So although it's called First, it's quite a high level exam. It's quite popular because it's very well recognised by employers. And so it's not at all unlikely that you'll be asked to prepare learners for this test. It's a great test to teach for too. I really enjoyed teaching that. Above this, we've got Cambridge C1 Advanced and Cambridge C2 Proficiency. And below that, there's B1 Preliminary and A2 Key. So these are the Cambridge Suite exams. Then there are other important exams such as IELTS and TOEFL. Now these are slightly different because they have a specific purpose, therefore academic English, and they're mostly used by people who want to study in an English-speaking university. They're also sometimes required for immigration, so it's not always about study. As a rule of thumb, this is how the levels map onto the CEFR, and there's no pass mark for these, but most universities would ask for level 6 or 6.5 for IELTS and 90 to 100 for TOEFL. So if you want to see a comparison of all of these, here you go. I hope that this gives you a bit of an insight and an understanding as to the levels. And if you want great ideas for teaching at all levels, then head over to my website for lots of inspirational methodology ideas and activities. Look forward to seeing you there. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.